Yo, everybody, welcome back to the Quiet Time Podcast. I am here with my boy, Loren Moore, a.k.a. One Shot Dot. What's good, brother?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
One of Denver's finest, man.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no doubt, brother. So we just going to hop right into it, man. Like, the way we became cool a couple years ago was, just playing some volleyball at View House, man. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, you know how life is. The things that happen organically are always the things that end up later on down the line. You're like, oh, shit, damn, it makes sense.
Right.
So, our situation in particular, we didn't know each other from a can of worms and ended up becoming really close friends over the years. So, just like, you got to roll with the punches. That's why it's kind of tough being indoors during these quarantine times, because you can't go out and meet people and spread your wings and, catch a vibe. So,
yeah. Definitely, yeah. But that was a fun time. We was, playing some volleyball at View House, and, it turned into a really great friendship that, we still have going to this day. So let's talk a little bit about like what you do and who you are. So, talk a little bit about the rap industry, the music industry, how you got started with that, where you're going with that, and, how hard it is to really make it in that industry. You have songs on iTunes, you've dropped albums, talk about that process, because I don't think people really understand how much of an art and how much of a process it really is.
Yeah, for sure. The thing about music, it's always been my passion. Since I was young, I always knew that like I wanted to have some form of involvement with music in one way, shape, or form. And, right around the end of high school is when I started like really recording my first records and kind of like figuring out like this is something that I can really do. I always knew I could rap, but once you put it on wax and kind of listen to it, then you kind of like, dang, I'm actually good. So once I found out I was good, I just try to do as much as I could to build a buzz around the city. There's not a huge music market in Denver, but I was able to utilize the resources that I could. I knew a lot of people just from, being a social butterfly and just always doing good business with people and just being around town. I always kept it moving. And over the years of just grinding my music, I was able to build a solid fan base in my hometown. And then beyond that, just started connecting with a lot of the bigger promoters out here in Denver, and started getting show opportunities. And once they put me on that stage, there was no turning back. They should have never gave me that stage. So once I felt the stage for the first time, I knew this was one of my comfort zones and where I wanted to be for sure. As far as like the struggles of an artist,
really, I want you to really dive into this, because I see what it's like, just knowing you, like how hard it is to make it in the music industry. So like, yeah, please touch on that.
I mean, you got to just, take into account that there's just so many different elements that all have to spark at the same time to really take off as an artist. For me, I take my time with the creative process, because I'm really big on delivering a quality product to the public, to my fans, for myself. I always like to represent myself at a high level. So the first hurdle is making sure you find your sound, you get a good aesthetic, so people familiarize themselves with you as far as like, okay, this is what his style's like musically, the way he dresses, the way he talks, the things that he's into, all these things are what create you into an artist.
Dressing goes into that?
Absolutely. Like your style, the best artists to me, like their style looks like their music sounds. As crazy as that sounds.
I never really thought about that.
But it's all a part of the aesthetic. That's how you know the difference between like someone that just wants to make music and try to catch a hit record and like a real artist. A real artist is going to give you the full display as far as like sonically what the message they're trying to get across and the visual side of it. So you want to deliver a great product. You want to build strong relationships with the right people. I feel like a lot of times people spend a lot of time trying to focusing on getting this person to be their fan or that person to be their fan. But I think that if, like, we go back to saying, like, just organically, if you can just focus on what you want to do, the people that are willing to support you and help you, ride with them, stay loyal to them, and just continue to grind, continue to reinvent yourself year after year. And, that's where the passion has to be there, because it's a never ending story. The songs that I was writing when I first started off aren't necessarily the subject matter that I'm using now. Like, as I grow as a man, my sound evolves. And, that's why songs you listen to me from 3 years ago, I dropped an album 3 years ago called Translate, and I can still listen to it now, and it sounds really, really current. But for me, my growth over those last 3 years, it makes me even more excited to deliver new product to the masses so they can really hear where I'm at right now. You know what I mean? It's just like sports, bro. The more you rap, the better you get. Right. Day after day. The more you create, the more creative you become, So back to your question, it's more, without rambling on too much, it's more about your passion and your willingness to, network and build quality relationships without burning bridges with quality people that know what they're doing in this industry. And also building a team and knowing that you can't do this by yourself. There's so many different roles that come into play for artists to continue to get pushed and pushed and pushed to a higher level, from management to agents to, creative directors. Just every artist needs different things. So it's hard to say specifically what it takes to reach higher levels, because everyone needs something different, you know what I mean? But I think that, if I was starting off today and my advice was to someone that wanted to start off making music today, I would say just make sure you keep that never quit attitude, because this isn't something for someone that just wants to get in and then get out. Like, this is really a grind, really a process, and, things like that take time.
Absolutely. So we're going to dive into, you said you work with Jazzy, and, talk a little bit about that. She wrote Old Town Road, right?
Yeah, Jazzy, she's a really, really good friend of mine. And, over the past, I want to say, like 6-7 years now, I've really made it almost a life mission for myself to help spread her sound and spread her music.
So y'all been cool for a minute.
Yeah, a really long time. I've always believed in her. She's one of the most talented people I've ever seen record music. And for those that aren't familiar with her, you could check her out, Dope by Accident, on all her social medias. The situation with her was she had been doing songwriting for a lot of different artists throughout the past, and working with the likes of Missy Elliott, Timberland, huge names, Pharrell, Beyonce, anyone you could think of. But last year, the Old Town Road record really took off, and she had wrote Billy Ray Cyrus's verse on that record, and she entered the game as a songwriter, and then was able to get an artist deal and whatnot. And through our friendship, I was able to be a part of her touring team and things like that. So I've been able to be around for a lot of really cool experiences. And we did we did some tour dates with Summer Walker this past fall, and, some festivals. So it's really cool for me, because not only am I able to pursue and press my issue when it comes to my music and my sound, I'm surrounded by some really, really dope people that are in the game and making noise that I'm able to aid and press forward. It's our group is called Team Sport. It's a collective effort to reach our goals, so regardless of if, Team Sport Collective has, songwriters, artists, painters, graphic designers, just talents from all different types of people, you know, from all different types of places, and collectively we come together and we find ways to help build each other up.
Man, that's awesome. You know, staying with the music industry, you and I talk about music all the time. I need your top 5 albums.
Albums?
Yeah.
That's hard. I thought you guys say artists. Albums, top 5 albums.
That you said you could play right through. You said there are just some classics, and obviously you said Nothing Was the Same, which is, you know, obviously Drake is my favorite artist. So let's talk a little bit about, you know, top 5 albums in your eyes.
Okay, so in my eyes, you know, and this is completely my opinion. It's not me, you know, placing any particular order, but these are just albums that are in my top 5 because they impacted my life in a special kind of way. So I would say, and this is in no particular order, so I'd say Jay-Z Blueprint, Jeezy Thug Motivation 101, Drake Nothing Was the Same.
Drake Nothing Was the Same, number 1.
Let's see what other albums just really impacted me in a crazy way. These are gonna be some sleeper picks just because I didn't get time to really think about this. But like I would say Lauryn Hill, Miseducation Lauryn Hill was real impactful for me.
That was nice.
And then I would either go with Jay-Z Reasonable Doubt or maybe Nas I Am, because Nas I Am is one of the albums that when I was in middle school, I really bought this album. I went to Sam Goody.
Nobody knows about Sam Goody. Hey, that's a throwback store right there.
I gave him my $20. I said, I need this Nas album. I went back home, played it, you know. And now, actually, I have to take that back because that DMX Dark and It's Dark and Hell is Hot is definitely in my top 5. So,
what about from a sales standpoint, what are the top albums? Because we talk about some of that stuff too. You said that Jeezy album with, I don't know, platinum or I don't know, all that stuff, but you know, talk a little bit about that, like from those albums.
Some of the greatest sales albums that just come off the top of my brain. Michael Jackson, his album went, I don't know, almost like I don't maybe exaggeration, but I think 50 times diamond, something.
And you
crazy.
said 50 Cent went diamond too, right?
Yeah, 50 Cent went diamond. That's another album that could be in my top 5 too. Get Rich or Die Trying, because that had me acting a fool in high school. You know, but like as far as hip hop goes, Nelly, Country Grammar, that was a great album. That was a great album, bro. I remember where I was. I was a sophomore in high school. My buddy Jimmy had just got his parents swooped him up a old school Mustang, and we was riding around town bumping that Nelly like there was no tomorrow, man. But that's the thing about music that I love more than anything else. Like you could remember albums, songs, and they'll take you instantly right back to a time in your life where that music was being played quite often.
Yeah, music is so powerful. Like when we listen to some of that old school Drake or some of that Drake, it takes me literally back to like Thank Me Later. I'll never forget. That's 2010. I was living with Greg Jones at Spartanville at Michigan State. Summer, July. You know, we getting ready to go into training camp. You know, you listen to things like Fireworks and
so
Fancy.
Y'all can see Benny's favorite artist is Drake. We just
Hendrix,
to make that clear.
Future Hendrix too. Future Hendrix, you know, even going back to the Super Bowl. That's when he dropped Purple Rain. He dropped Purple Rain the week of the Super Bowl, so that's always going to be special to me.
Right.
You know, and
Super Bowl 50.
Yeah, and then the year after that, he drops the What a Time to Be Alive. Right. The year after the Super Bowl. So it's just, you know, like you said, music is just so timeless and it can take you back to those places.
Yeah, some beautiful times. I was actually, yesterday I was listening to John Legend's album that Kanye did, and I forgot how incredible this album was. It was just yesterday. I was listening to it. I think the album's called Get Lifted, and it came out in 2004, and all of 2005, that's when like Kanye was really making his mark as a producer and an artist, and he put out John Legend, and I'm like, this album is, you know, Ordinary People is a timeless song that everybody loves, but if you listen to that album, it is just constructed so well. You can listen to it straight through. Like it's incredible.
There's real artwork that goes into this music.
Oh, for sure. Like, you know, during my creative process, when I'm making an album, or putting a project together, I'll really listen to these songs, in the upwards of maybe 10 to 20,000 times, like play them after play after play. And then not only that, then play the songs in order to make sure sonically that they blend well and things like that. So I've always been a artist that always wanted. I'm an album artist. Like I've always loved a complete body of work with some amazing cover art and a real like theme and feel to the entire project. But with the music industry being how it is now, it's more single related, as far as like, they want that first big record. And then once that record makes some noise, then we'll start talking about projects. But, it's, like I say, everyone's circumstance and situation is different because some people are able, have good relationship with their label. Some people don't. Some people are independent and some people own all their masters and their publishing and some people don't. I'm blessed and I'm able to, I've been able to build strong relationships and make some noise in the game and get my foot through some doors and still remain the independent artist this entire time. So, I'm thankful for that. I just recently signed a new distribution deal with Create Music Group, so I'm really excited about this new venture with them, and I'm going to be putting out some new material here really soon that I'm really excited about.
Yeah, I was just getting ready to ask you, let the people know where they can find you, but also, what you got planned. So you said you just signed with Creative Music Group.
It's Create Music.
Create Music Group.
Yeah,
so.
Out of Los Angeles, and they're amazing. They do a wonderful job with YouTube and monetizing all your numbers online and really getting you paid the way, the best way they can,
Yeah.
And so, there's just, that's another thing. Like we could go talk about music all day, because I'm so passionate about it. But like even as far as money, I'm not by any means a high grossing artist or anything like that. But me being an artist has opened up so many doors outside of music for me that
which is really
would have never occurred if I didn't write these first raps, if I didn't put out these first songs, if I never, you know what I mean? So I always remember, like, no matter if I'm the next great thing or have a hot record out or whatever the case may be, like, music has allowed me to travel all across this country and see places that I never thought I'd be able to see, meet some of the most amazing people that I thought who knows if I'll ever meet them, from the biggest music execs to some of the biggest artists to, just being in rooms with people. Like we were talking about that Country Grammar album, like, I was recently in the studio with Jazzy and Nelly, you know what I mean? And here I am sitting here, trying to be present and enjoy the moment in the session and whatnot. And at the same time, I'm like, damn, I'm really in the fucking studio with Nelly, bro. Like, you don't understand, like, what type of blessings are going to fall your way as long as you stay true to, like, who you are and what you do and what you believe in. And I've always believed in my music. That's why I've never, regardless of what circumstances I'm going through in my life, like, people are going to know that I'm still making music. I'm still involved somehow, some way. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir. Hey, much love, bro. I appreciate you being on the Quiet Time podcast.
Facts.
My man, Loren Moore, a.k.a. One Shot Dot. Check out his music. His link to his music will be on the subscription page. So check it out. Appreciate you.
Peace.